Welcome back, Cardboard Warriors. How's everybody out there doing today? This is a video for newer players or players just maybe getting back into the game that haven't been in the game for a while or whatever. Just people that aren't terribly familiar with the game or just having trouble with the new mechanics in Innistrad Midnight Hunt. My girlfriend's pretty new to the game and she's having trouble understanding this set because there's so many different types of flip cards that are all different mechanics. So I'm going to kind of do a quick kind of breakdown. Well, hopefully it'll be quick. I'm going to do a breakdown on the different mechanics in the set for those of you who are struggling with figuring it out or new to the game or new to this set and just not quite understanding how the different flip mechanics work, because they did throw a lot of different flip mechanics into this one set. I think because they were printing flip cards, they're like, well, let's just print all kinds of flip cards. So they just kind of went overboard with it. They really should have kept it to just one or two different mechanics with the flip cards. But anyways, I like the new mechanics that they came up with for the most part. I'm not big on the nightbound, daybound thing just because it's very confusing and hard to keep track of during the gameplay. But anyways, let's break into it, but check out the description below. There's a lot of good sales on Magic cards listed down there, and if you use any of those links to purchase anything off Amazon, I do get a little bit of commission on that, and it really helps out the channel. My Patreon's down there if you want to support the channel. My eBay link is down there if you want to buy singles through eBay from me, or if you, my email address is down there if you want to buy singles directly from me, or talk about sponsoring an open video or something like that for you on the channel. And my actual address is down there if you want to send me something to open on video. And so let's break into it. Any of those links down below are all legit. I use them all. They're all really good stuff. It really saves you money and gets you free money. So anyways, check those out and let's break into it. Okay, so there's three basic flip card mechanics in the new set. There is the nightbound, daybound, vampire or werewolf thing. There is transform, which is throwback to the original Innistrad sets, I believe. And then there's the disturb, which is the new mechanic that they came up with that I absolutely love. All right, let's break into disturb first, because that was probably the easiest one to explain. So what it is some of the cards you'll see this disturb cost on the bottom. And if you read the parentheses, which the showcase cards don't have the little blurb to tell you what it does, but the ones that are non-showcases, regular cards, they'll say underneath it, you may cast this card from your graveyard transformed for its disturb cost. Now transform means that you're bringing it on the back side, and you'll see this little logo up in the top left corner here to let you know that it's a transform card. Transform card, so you can play it on the other side as well, right before the name of the card. So basically how this works is when you first cast the card, it's 1 blue, 1 colorless for a 2/1, and you can pay 1 and sacrifice Malevolent Hermit, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 3 extra colorless mana. So this disturb doesn't come into play at all when you first cast the card, but if you sacrifice it to counter a spell, or if your opponent kills the creature and it goes to your graveyard, then you can pay this disturb cost to put it back onto the battlefield as the Benevolent Geist. So the Benevolent Geist is a 2/2 flyer. Non-creature spells you control can't be countered, so it prevents your opponent from countering your spells. And if Benevolent Geist would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So this is basically like Flashback on a creature, because you can play it as this one creature, and then when it dies or goes to the graveyard because you sacked it, you can cast it again as this other creature. So really, really awesome mechanic that they came up with. So it has nothing to do with the daybound, nightbound thing. And that's where people get confused, because they see this kind of moon here and they see the sun here and they think that it's a daybound, nightbound thing. So when it becomes night, this flips over. That's not the case. It's just you cast it as this creature. When it goes to the graveyard, then you can recast it with its disturb cost as this creature. So it's just basically 2 creatures in one, because it's a creature that you can put out early and then it gets killed and then you bring it back a little bit later as this creature. So it really, I love this mechanic because it, most creatures when they go to the graveyard, you're done with them unless you got some way to reanimate them. the card's just gone. You're down a creature now in your whole deck. So with this, you actually get a secondary creature that you can cast later game after the first creature dies. So I really love this mechanic, and this particular card is really handy because you can actually sack it to counter a spell and then bring it back as the Geist from your graveyard. So it kind of is... It doesn't even need to worry about if the opponent's going to kill it or not for it to be able to come back. You can always use it as a counterspell and then bring it back. So that's how the Disturb mechanic works. The Transform mechanic, again, this is how they did it in the early Innistrad sets, I believe. So it's still got the sun and the moon on it. But again, this is not affected by Daybound, Nightbound, which we'll get into in a second here. This one is for a blue and a black. It's a 2/3 creature, and whenever he enters the battlefield or attacks, you mill a card, which means you take the top card of your library, put it in your graveyard. But you can pay 2 blue and 2 black and X. The X is actually exile X creature cards from your graveyard, and then transform Ludovic. And X can't be 0, so you have to exile at least 1 creature card from your graveyard, and you can only activate this as a sorcerer. You can't do it instant speed. But he comes in as a 2/3, but then when you pay this cost and you exile some creature cards from your graveyard, you can transform him, and he becomes a 4/4, and then it says in here, as this creature transforms into Oleg Ludovic's Hubris, that's his new name when he transforms, it becomes a copy of a creature card exiled with it. So one of those creatures that you remove from your graveyard to create this guy, to transform him, he copies that. Except its name is Oleg Ludovic's Hubris. It's a 4/4, and it's legendary blue and black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. Put a number of 1/1 counters on Oleg equal to the number of creature cards exiled with it. So if you exile like 3 cards, it's actually a 7/7 because you're going to get the 3 1/1 counters and the 4/4, and he's still a copy of that other card. So if it was like a red-green card, then you get he's a red, green, blue, and black, and he's a zombie. And if that one was like a wolf, then he's a zombie wolf. So it kind of, yeah. This one's a little complex. I probably should have picked an easier card for this. But transform, actually, you have to do some type of ability to transform the card into the other one. So unlike Disturb, where it has to die and go to the graveyard, and then you bring it back as the transform card, this one you can transform during gameplay. So you can actually, you decide when it transforms by paying that cost on its ability and then transforming it. So that's the transform cards. Again, has nothing to do with Daybound or Nightbound. So these are the werewolves, the Daybound, Nightbounds. So basically anything that's a werewolf as a subtype is going to be able to have this. Now, this is a showcase one that doesn't have the little logo the same way, and we'll talk about that in a second here. So here's your standard card. So this is, you'll see it has a Daybound on it. And then you'll see that it's got the little flip thing. And on the back side, it says Nightbound. So Daybound, Nightbound is the new mechanic that they came up with for the werewolves. It's similar to what they used before, but they actually have keywords for it now. So this one is the showcase, the Tavern Ruffian. So there's his Daybound, and then there's his Nightbound, the Tavern Smasher. So this is a pretty simple one, so it'll be a little easier. Plus, it's got the showcase border, so I can show you the difference. So, if you look up in the corner here, you got the sun on the Daybound on the regular border, and on the showcase border, if you look, it's kind of got this almost like metallic-looking sun ring around the corner. And then when you flip them to Nightbound, you got the moon on the regular one, and then you got this kind of metallic-looking moon kind of emblem thing up in the corner. So there's your Nightbounds and your Daybounds. So if you read now, like I said, the showcase won't show you what that means, but the regular border ones you'll see say Daybound is if a player casts no spells during their own turn, it becomes night next turn. So when it's Daybound, somebody has to go a turn without casting any spells to make it night. Now when he's Daybound, he's only a 4/5. When he's Nightbound, he becomes a 6/6. You'll see there's a 6/6. So Nightbound, if a player casts at least 2 spells during their own turn, it becomes day next turn. So if it's night and your opponent casts 2 spells, it becomes day the next turn. If it's day and nobody casts a spell on their turn, it becomes night the next turn. So it's a little harder to keep track of because you got to remember how many spells each person casts on each turn. You got to keep track of the number of spells. There is a daybound, nightbound token that I should have left out, but I didn't because, yeah. Let me grab that real quick. That'll make it a little easier, hopefully. Where is it? Where is it? All right, here we go. I'm not prepared for this. I should have been. All right, so daybound. Here's your token that actually has the day and night on it. And what happens is it's neither day nor night until you cast a creature that has daybound or nightbound, or a creature like this Brimstone Vandal, which says if it's neither day nor night, it becomes day as Brimstone Vandal enters the battlefield. And then, of course, this little guy, even though he doesn't flip, he doesn't have the werewolf mechanic, he's just a devil, he's not a werewolf at all. Whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, Brimstone Vandal deals 1 damage to each opponent. So there is a lot of cards like this in the set that are not really affected by the day or night, but they affect the day or night. They start the chain going, and they can do some type of ability as it transforms between day and night. So if it's day and then nobody casts a spell and it becomes night, this little guy deals 1 damage to each opponent. So there's that. And then there's also cards like Moonrager's Slash, which are affected by whether it's day or night. So this spell costs 1 red and 2 colorless, and it deals 3 damage to any target. However, if you read this spell costs 2 less to cast if it's night, which means it only costs 1 red, deals 3 damage to any target. So it becomes a lightning bolt if it's night. But during the day, it costs 3 to do the 3 damage. At night, 1 to do the 3 damage. So again, it's not a flip card. It has no bearing or anything to do with the day-bound, night-bound mechanic, except for the fact that if it's night, it's cheaper to cast. So there's cards like that in the set and cards like this in the set that will start the day-night thing. So even if you don't have any werewolves out, if you cast a Brimstone Vandal, boom, it becomes day. And then if you do cast something that has day-bound, night-bound, whether it's day or night at that point will matter when that card comes into play. So another thing that people have trouble with the day-bound, night-bound thing is they don't know which side to play when they cast it. Because so say you cast a Brimstone Vandal, right? And then nobody plays a spell the next turn, it becomes night. And then you play this Tavern Ruffian, it's nighttime, it's not daybound right now. So when you cast it for 4, you automatically get this 6/5 beast. He comes into play as the nightbound 6/5 beast as long as it's night. If it's day, he comes into play as the 2/5. So it can be night before you even put a werewolf out, and then you get the werewolves immediately. You get their bigger, angrier counterpart, nightbound counterpart there. So that's how the daybound, nightbound thing works. But the ones that say daybound, nightbound are only affected by what this token says. Whether it's day or night, you flip them. And you can flip them back and forth 100 times in a game if it keeps going from day to night to day to night to day to night. So, one person casts 2 spells every turn and the other person casts no spells every turn. It'll keep flipping. Of course, the person casting no spells is probably going to die pretty quick. But anyways, so that's the daybound, nightbound mechanic. And you do get a lot of these tokens in the boxes, and they are in your pre-release kits and stuff. So if you don't have one, I'm sure your LGS can provide you with one. So that's how the daybound, nightbound thing works. So the daybound, nightbound thing is totally different than the disturb or the transform. These two are not affected by the daybound, nightbound, even though they put the nightbound and daybound kind of logos up in the top corner, which I really think they should not have done. I think that is what's leading to a lot of the confusion, because you see that little daybound, nightbound logo is in the corner, but these cards aren't affected by that at all. They're not affected by the daybound, nightbound. They just put that up there to show you it's a flip card, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't there at the meeting. I don't work for WotC, so I have no idea what they were thinking, why they would put that. on cards that aren't affected by Daybound, Nightbound in a set that's kind of catered to that Daybound, Nightbound thing. But anyways, there's another couple of mechanics I just want to mention real quick. One is another new mechanic for this set, or at least I think it is. It's called Coven. So this particular creature, if you have the Coven at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, which is what the Coven is, this guy gets trample until the end of turn. So there's a lot of different things that are affected by this Coven. All Coven means is that if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, hence like this guy's a 5/5, this guy's a 2/5, and this guy's a 4/5. So you got 3 different powers there, 4/5, 2/5, and 5/5. So now, if we had all 3 of these out, we would have Coven, and every turn, this guy would have, that they're all out, this guy would have Trample. But it checks at the beginning of combat on your turn every time. There's some other ones that will have, if you have Coven, you can pay a cost and get a special ability. So that's what the Coven mechanic is. It literally just means if you have 3 different creatures out with different powers, or they can actually be the same creatures, just with different 1/1 counters on them. Yeah, so you can have a 1/1 and then a 1/1 with a 1/1 counter on it, makes it a 2/2, and then another 1/1 with 2 1/1 counters makes it a 3/3. So you would have Coven that way. I believe it works like that. Pretty sure that's how it works. So, anyways, the last one I want to go over is an old one that I think this started in like Time Spiral, the original one, back in the early 2000s. So Flashback is kind of similar to Disturbed. So Flashback, this particular card, Shadow Beast Sighting, has Flashback on it. What this means is when you first cast it, it's a green and 3 colorless, and you create a 4/4 green beast creature token. And then this card goes to your graveyard because you've cast it. But then this Flashback cost, if you read, it's 1 green and 6 colorless. You may cast this card from your graveyard for its Flashback cost and then exile it. So basically, anything with a Flashback on it, you get to cast the card twice, but the Flashback cost is usually different than the original cost, usually more. So you cast this, you create a 4/4 beast token, and then it goes to your graveyard, and then like the next turn or a few turns later or whatever, you can cast it again for the 7 mana, create another 4/4 beast token, and then it's exiled. So that's how the Flashback works. It's basically the Disturb is basically like a creature variation of this Flashback, and I think it's a really cool idea. But I think they probably crammed way too many mechanics into this set for a beginner to really kind of grasp it right away. So that's why I want to kind of do this video. Hopefully this clears some of it up. I know I ramble a little bit, and I probably could explain things a little bit more layman's terms, but I just kind of wanted to go over the basic differences between the 3 different flip cards that are confusing to newer players. So Disturb, you cast it, it goes, once it dies, goes to the graveyard, then you can cast it again for its Disturb cost as the flip. Transform means you cast it and then you have to pay some type of cost, and then you transform it to its new creature type, or its totally new card. Daybound, Nightbound is determined by whether or not it's day or night, and that is what you cast the creature as when it comes into play, and then as it changes, the creature changes with it. So as it becomes day, they flip over to Daybound. If it goes to night, they flip over to Nightbound. So that's how these mechanics work. Like I said, day is if a player casts 2 spells on their turn. Night is if a player casts no spells on their turn. It becomes night. So, and then there's creatures, like I said, with the Brimstone Vandal that will start that going whether or not you have Daybound, Nightbound creatures out or not. So, if you don't have any Daybound, Nightbound werewolves out, you cast the Vandal. That gets the daytime counter ticking, and then it starts going day or night. Even if you never cast a vampire for the rest of the game, you're still going to keep track of the day or night once a creature comes out that makes it day or makes it night. And then there's spells that are affected by whether it's day or night. This card is a great card if you're built a deck around this Daybound, Nightbound thing, but if you're not keeping track of day or night, this card is always 3, so that's a bummer. But It's an amazing card for this format, but you know, after this cycles out and nobody's using the day-night thing anymore, then that card's not going to be that great, I don't think. So, anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hopefully, this helps some people out. Check out the description below. Like I said, there's a lot of good stuff in there. Save you money, get your cash back on all your Magic purchases, and a lot of good sales on stuff right now. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and good luck with your games. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.